Hello, welcome to the latest edition of the Full-Time Whittle Podcast. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by one of the most promising boxers in the country. She's raising the flag for the women in Greater Manchester. It's Rhiannon Dixon. Rhiannon, how are you doing?
Oh, hi. Thank you very much. That was really nice. I'm really good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. So, first and foremost, before every interview I like to set the scene for those who might not know about you. So, what was your childhood like and upbringing in Warrington?
My childhood, I had a fairly normal childhood. I was, I think I did ballet, tap and modern from when I was 2. Nothing much happened. Yeah, I've had a good life. Mum and dad are good. And then I stopped dancing when I was about 15, put on a bit of weight, started doing CrossFit, loved weightlifting, stopped doing that, and then got a bit chubby. And I was like, oh, I want to do a sport where I don't know I'm exercising, because I hate going to the gym and jogging on a treadmill or going out for a jog because I'll just quit because I'm a wimp. But so then I saw Ronda Rousey on TV and I was like, oh, she looks pretty cool. I think I could do that. And then I messaged Mike Grundy, I think it was, and he was like, oh, if you've never done MMA before, why don't you try boxing? So then he put me in touch with this, my old coach. And then I started boxing, and then I really got into it. Like, even though if I watch my old videos now, I'll cringe and be like, oh my God, why did anyone ever think that I was good at boxing? And then I started having fights on the unlicensed route and then turned professional in, was it 2019?
Yeah.
Must have been 2019, yeah. And then now I'm here.
Yeah, it was in 2019 because you had 10 fights at white collar level. You won all 10. And then in that following summer, July 2019, you obviously signed professionally. And there's quite a funny story to when you did sign professionally. Do you mind telling us about that day and what you remember?
Oh yes. So me and Ross and my old coach went to this hotel where your men are like, go and do, I think it's your first like assessment, or like you go for an interview. And so they've turned to Ross and gone, all right, mate, what's your name? Because you give your name beforehand to like book on. And he was like, oh no. And I was like, oh no, it's me. Like, I'm the boxer. My name's Rhiannon, should be on the list. And he was like, oh, right, okay. So I think, like, people say I don't look like a boxer. I mean, like, if you look close, you can tell my nose is broken and I cannot sniff out of one nostril. So I kind of do look a bit rough and ready. But yeah.
Is it quite a common theme that obviously when people learn about what you do, they're quite shocked and taken aback?
Oh yeah, everyone's like, oh, well, yeah, I think it was the first time I went sparring at Hatton's gym. Someone was like, you do boxing? I was like, yeah. But every time I'm in work and I tell someone like I'm a professional boxer, like, you're a professional boxer, you don't look like one. I was like, what's one meant to look like? But yeah, here I am.
Obviously, you mentioned in one of your previous answers that you did dancing from a young age. How does that younger experience of dancing help cross over and help stand you in good stead when you're boxing?
I think because I'm such an amazing dancer and everyone who knows me can vouch for that. Yes, do not shake your head. You know I'm a good dancer. Probably the footwork translates. That's why I've got such amazing footwork as a boxer.
Yeah, it's one of the things that stands out about you, and in terms of not only have you got really fast hands, but your footwork is very good. And I know it's been pointed out by a lot of people that have watched you. Even Jimmy Bullard has complimented you in the past on Sport Bible. I'm not going to go into that, but it was great to see you get praise from someone of such high profile, an ex-Wigan Athletic player who the audience will definitely relate to, and obviously a Soccer M host. And obviously boxing is something that is a sport which is very exciting. It gets people off the feet. And what was the initial moment when you realised that this is something you wanted to pursue competitively?
I think I've always enjoyed like all my white collar fights, my unlicensed fights. I've really enjoyed them all, but I think like it really hit me when I had my debut, and you walked out with me. We were walking out together, and like the lights were on me, and I was like, oh, I hate this. I just want to get in the ring. But then when I got in the ring, I was like so calm, and I just thought like this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, I want to feel this moment all the time. And then obviously, with the knockdown, and I thought she was going to stay down, but she didn't. I just thought like I just want to get better and better at this, and I just want to be the best.
I'll never forget, actually. I think people can watch it back on Hennessy Sports, but I remember watching it back quite recently, and before the fight, you can kind of see you look quite nervous, and you was kind of just looking around like, what am I doing here? But the second you stepped in that ring and the bell went, it was very relatively clear the reasons why he was in that ring. And like you said, within the first 30 seconds, you got the knockdown against Vida Masakate at the University of Bolton Stadium in front of the Channel 4 cameras. Obviously, when you got that knockdown, I bet you was thinking, oh my God, I've done it. Dream debut. What a start. And obviously,
Yeah.
she got back up somehow.
No, I don't know how she got back up. Like I watch it back over and over again, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she got like, I've seen fights get stopped for less. But I think like to add on to what you said before, I get like I get like, you know, in my head about things. So I Twitter search my name after my debut to see like what people were saying about me. And some guy put like, I've never seen someone look so uncomfortable and so out of place. And then he was like, but then when she got in the ring, she was fine. I was like, I completely agree with that comment. Like I thought I had a really good debut, but like looking back now, I feel like I've come on so much because I look back at that performance and I think, oh my God, that was awful. Like I got hit too many times. Like I should have been doing, you know, like stuff that I've learned now. I should have been doing that in that fight. So it's just mad, like looking back and seeing how far you've come.
Is it quite a happy memory to look back on? Obviously, having that first professional fight in front of the television cameras and all your friends and family were in the crowd to cheer you on.
Oh, it's an amazing memory. Probably one of my favorites. And like, especially like my dad hates, well, he used to hate my boxing. I don't know whether he does now. He shares some of my stuff, so I think he's coming around to it. But like when I went to him after, I was like, so was it okay? And he was like, yeah, it was amazing. And then he was going around after it going, my daughter's beat number one in Lithuania. And I was like, Dad, there is only one girl in Lithuania to beat. He was like, you are the champion of Lithuania now. I was like, it doesn't really work like that.
I know your parents are very supportive, but was it quite a scary prospect for them? Because I can imagine if I had kids, I'd be frightened to death to watch them fight and see someone gunning to obviously beat them up.
I know, like my mum's come to all my fights, and I think I can see, like, I just want, when I'm there, I just want to make sure that she's okay. Like, I don't want her to feel uncomfortable, and I don't want her to be upset or anything like that. So when someone hits me and I'm in like the ring, I just think, oh my God, you've just hit me in front of my mum. Like, she's going to be upset now.
It's so strange. It's such a weird, not a weird concept, but it must be so surreal. And I know James Moorcroft, who he'll touch on, he's someone you've obviously been very close friends with over the years, and you work close with him under Anthony Crolla. But his grandma, she's his biggest supporter, and if you actually watch her during his fights, she's doing the punches along with James, and it's so touching to see.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like his mum and Hannah are the same. His fiance, and I'm sure Ross is the same as well. I bet Ross feels like he just wants to get in there and fight. But no, it's amazing because I love fighting on the same shows as James, because obviously like his family is so lovely and so supportive, and obviously like Ross is best friends with James as well. So it's just nice to share something like that with your best friend.
Absolutely, and I've sat next to Ross a few times when you've been fighting. I always enjoy watching him anyways, because you can kind of see he's very focused. He's always shouting good instructions of what to do.
Is he?
Yeah, he sometimes says some really productive things. Sometimes it's not always the most productive, but I think in the back of his mind, you can just see a little bit of a twinkle, which is a little bit nervous. But I think that's natural to anyone who's watching someone who love and care dearly about fighting.
I know, like I always say to him, are you nervous about me fighting? He's like, no, because I see how hard you train and I know how good you are. So how can I get nervous? And then I always think like, you're saying that you don't get nervous, so then I don't get in my head that you're nervous. So then I won't like switch off and try and think, do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I think he is a really good support system, Ross. I couldn't ask for a better boyfriend.
it's almost like reverse psychology in many ways to calm your nerves. And with Ross, you actually recently celebrated your 4-year anniversary, I believe, yesterday. So a big congratulations about that. I think anyone who knows Ross and who's been around him knows how extremely likable he is, like yourself.
Oh, he's lovely, Ross. Did you see the video I put up of him dancing?
Yeah, I've seen him dancing way too much in the past. You can't forget those moves where it's usually at a weird time as well. I remember in Glasgow, we was in I think it was probably about 5 a.m. in the hotel room, and he was like a live wire. I don't. Does he ever get tired?
uh,
He's so energetic. I don't know where he gets it from.
I think it's cause me and Ross like literally drink once a year, and we drink to get drunk because we don't like the taste of alcohol, and it's probably all the sugar because we're not used to it. And then he just goes hyper like a little kid. He's like a child. Me and him don't get on when he's drunk. We're like mortal enemies.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually got a clip from Glasgow, and Ross was doing a shot, and his face was a picture. I think in the video he was there like, "You're gonna regret it, Ross. Don't do it." not in a bad way, but I think you knew he was there warning like this is not a good idea, and I think he did regret it in the end.
Oh yeah, on that train home from Glasgow. Yeah, definitely regret it.
Yeah, I think it was about 2 hours long from Glasgow to Wigan Northwest, and or wherever stop you went off. But I've made that trip to Glasgow many a times, and to get back onto your fighting now and what you're up to. Obviously, in your second fight, you fought against Poland's Bojana Liberzewski. I've definitely said that wrong, but Bojana, sure, we'll go with that, at the University of Bolton Stadium on the Saturday 9th of December. Is it safe to say in your first fight you was quite frustrated, although you did secure quite a comfortable win?
Yeah, it was annoying because she obviously didn't come to like win or to fight, and she was just grabbing on. And I've sat down with Ant and he's watched it, and we've spoken about like, what game plan that me and him would have had going into it. And it's just like the way he sees things, like it just makes sense. Do you know what I mean? So like he said, oh, we would have held back and wait for her to come forward and then, like let your shots go. And then so I wish I would have done that there, but it's all a learning curve. Like that will never happen to me again now, because I was so frustrated after that. Like I won and I won every round, but I didn't feel like I won after it. Do you know what I mean? And everyone's like, what are you so upset for? Like you've won. Like, well, how could you be like down? And I was like, because that wasn't me. Like that wasn't a good performance. Like it was awful. I think she come in a pound overweight as well.
You mentioned Ant there, and obviously watching it back with him. In terms of his career, he's achieved a lot of very stellar achievements. He's been to the very best locations in the world. And what's it like to have his tactical insight when you're watching these fights back, and obviously you're learning from him each day in the gym?
It's unbelievable. Like when he tweets about me saying I'm going to be a star and stuff, I'm like, oh my God, Anthony. I show Ross, I'm like, have you seen what Anthony Crolla said about me? So yeah, it's a game changer. Like the training that we do, it's ridiculous. And like we go to Gallagher's on a Friday, and the training that they do there, it's unbelievable. Like fitness wise, it just takes you to another level. And obviously I've said it in so many interviews, he just pays so much attention to detail. Like he'll watch you on the bag, but it's not just like, oh, watching you like half-assed. Like he'll watch you, and if you're doing something not right, he'll step in at that moment and be like, right, okay, you need to do it this way. And everything's so well thought out, like every single training session so well thought out. And obviously, he adds different elements to our training, which has made me and James just so much fitter and so much better. Like I look at myself when I'm near fight weight now. So if there was any opportunities, like as he always says, you want to stay ready so that you don't have to get ready. So I'm around about fight weight now, but my physique looks so much different than it did before. And I think another part to play is that I've got my strength and conditioning coach, Tim Holmes. So if you look at me in I think like March last year compared to now, I look like two completely different physiques, and it's just crazy.
Can you talk us through what a training session is like with him?
So it's like, you do your warm up, you're skipping and your shadow. But like with the shadowing, he'll be in the ring with you. So sometimes like he'll come and kind of like you know, get in front of you and like, you know, sort your movement out and like show, like come over and be like roll, and like making sure that when you're rolling, your hands are tight and that you're getting into a position that you're able to punch and you're not off balance. Everything is very, very, very high pace. Ross has actually come and watched some training sessions, and he's like, I've never seen you work so hard. It's literally like every round you work until like your gas tank's at zero so that you can use the recovery to like try and recover. Everything's just so fast paced and everything's sorted out before the session. And then it doesn't just stop at the boxing, because he'll add like strength or conditioning on at the end. So it's just you know, made me and James look like completely different fighters. And he loves abs. He makes us do loads of abs at the end. I'm going to have a 6-pack by the end of this year.
Sounds like an excellent coach. And in terms of doing the work with Anne, how many training sessions do you do a week?
So I'll do 3 sessions with Anne, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then when we go into like a fight camp, it'll obviously increase. And then I do 3 strength and conditioning sessions with Tim on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. But then I've also got to do like sprints or like bike sprints or like, you know, road running on the day. So I'm training like twice a day, nearly every day. Apart from Sundays I get to rest.
How important is it to have a schedule where you obviously get a lot of intense training, but you also have recovery days as well to ensure that you don't pick up any niggly injuries?
Oh yeah. Well, obviously I've got my sponsor, Elite Performance Sports Massage, that sort out any sort of like injuries that I've got. But it is just so important. And obviously because, you know, I'm working at the time as well. I'm so on the go all the time that like Sunday I need to rest to let my mind and my body relax and, you know, spend some time with my family. Like I literally go to work, go to gym, like my boxing gym, and then I'll go to like my Steve Woods' gym to do like sprints or something after it, and then I'm home at like 8, and then I go to bed because I've got to wake up early tomorrow. I'm like an old lady. So it's really, really, really important that I get to rest on a Sunday, because it's good for like your mental health and like obviously your body as well.
At the time when the boxing was obviously allowed to go ahead and with crowds, you was gaining more and more popular amongst the hardcore boxing fans for your impressive displays. There was a lot of noise about you on social media and a lot of talk that you was destined for very big things. How flattering is it to hear comments like that?
It's unbelievable the amount of support that I've been getting over the past few months. Like loads of people like following me, liking my stuff. Like it all means so much, because the more support that you get, the bigger and better shows that you can get on. Obviously, you know, it's improved my confidence so much. I think even Lee Hogan was saying the other day, like, well, I saw him after, like, I've not seen him for quite a few months, and I saw him and he was like, you just seem like a completely different person. Like, you just look more confident in yourself. And I was like, well, everyone's saying really nice things about me on the internet. You know, obviously there's a few nasty or weird, mean ones, but I just try and ignore them. But yeah, it's actually been unbelievable, and I can't thank everyone enough for being so nice to me.
It's absolutely amazing to see the reaction you've got on social media. We talked about how Jimmy Bullard, Jack Mate, I've seen your clips, and obviously you've got a lot of praise from the women boxing pages and very other numerous sites as well. And as much as it's a huge compliment, how important is it to remain grounded and keep your feet firmly planted on the floor?
Oh, I'm so like so humble. You know, I'm still, I'm not like thinking, oh, I'm some sort of superstar. Like I still go to work on Monday at the hospital. I think it's really important that people stay like, well, with boxing, you're not going to be some massive superstar anyway, and you want to kind of like use your platform to inspire people and like young girls. Like
Obviously, with your story and your profile at the moment, you can potentially become almost a poster girl in many ways to inspire more young girls to get involved in sport.
oh, I don't know. Maybe. No, I wouldn't want to be on many posters. Only from this side though, because my nose is straight on this side. But like that's all I want to do really. I want to be the best I can be. And like, you know, a lot of girls when they leave school, they don't carry on sport unless they're like, you know, going to the Olympics for something, or they're in like a national team. But you know, I want to kind of like motivate young girls or like young adult women that like boxing isn't, you know, it is a very male dominated sport, but it isn't just for boys. And it doesn't mean that just because you're a boxer, you have to be like looked at in a certain type of way or look a certain type of way. Like you can come in any shape, size, or have any personality, and you can excel at any sport that you want to do, any male dominated sport.
Absolutely. I think as well, I've already seen the power of your posts and the inspiration from your work, because there's a very young boxing fan who is a very young boxer, Honey Joe. I know she also
Oh,
reacted
Honey
yourself
Joe.
and she looks up at you as such a big inspiration for her. And I imagine it must be so humbling and so amazing to see those videos of her training. I've seen videos, I think, of her running and obviously on the pads and in the gyms, and to almost think that you played a small part in that is amazing.
Oh, it's unbelievable. When I first met Honey Joe, I think she was doing kickboxing at the time. And then she came to like one of the sparring sessions that Stacey Copeland put on for loads of girls. And then me and her had a little spar. And then she came to the gym that I was at the time. And she's just unbelievably committed. Her parents are putting up videos of her training throughout lockdown. Like she's just saying so positive. And she's going to be like a little, she's going to be a world champion when she's older if she keeps up that dedication. Such a lovely family. And you know, if she becomes a world champion and I've inspired her, like how amazing would that be? I'll be riding on the back of it. I'll be holding a belt like that.
In terms of boxing, for the viewers who may not know about it's quite a very tough sport. You have to be very, very dedicated. You cannot give less than 100% every time you train, every time you step in the ring. Obviously, you do need to have some natural talent, but how much is boxing dedication and that drive and willingness to succeed?
I think it, you know, having being dedicated is a massive, massive, massive thing. You know, the fight night, that's just like the show where you get to showcase everything that you've put in the gym, but no one sees you doing the sprints on the treadmill thinking, like, if I do this one more, like they won't be doing it. And I'll do the extra, you know, sprint. And that's what'll make me better. Like no one really sees that. Everyone just sees the fight night where you just put in all your amazing things that you've learned on show. No one sees you grinding every day in the gym. And I think a lot of people, when they start boxing and think, oh, I want to be a pro boxer, they see what people actually do and they think, oh God, I didn't know you trained that much. So yeah, you have to be massively dedicated. I mean, like I go to work and then go training, and I don't really have a social life at all. Apart from Sundays. Sundays is a good social day.
We mentioned earlier about Honey Joe and obviously inspiring young girls to get into sport. Do you think in a way that the gender affiliation traditionally attached to certain sports like boxing, like football, sometimes can act as a barrier for young girls for entering sport?
I mean, I can only really speak for myself. And when I started, I used to be really like not confident, quiet, like going into a gym. I always used to think, oh, everyone's staring at me and thinking that I'm weird. So I started doing private lessons and then went to classes. And I think it's a big deal because when you go to boxing classes, it is majority of men, and it might be really uncomfortable for girls to go and like start boxing in front of all men that they don't know. It might make them feel uncomfortable, which is why there's loads of amazing ladies classes that go on where girls can find the confidence and like women supporting women. But I just think that like girls, if they're thinking about going to a boxing gym, just go and just think like, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. Go and step in. And honestly, no one will be staring at you. No one's bothered. Everyone will be too tired to even look at themselves, and you'll love it. And if you don't, then just try a new sport. Doesn't matter whether there's loads of boys there. Ignore them. They smell.
Is it difficult to obviously almost trick your mind out of thinking that everyone's watching you when you first start boxing in the gym?
Yeah. Like I went I'm lucky that like whenever I go to like any gym or anything like that, I've got Ross. And Ross is so nice and everyone gets on with him. And like he's just like an emotional like support for me. I'm quite fortunate that I've got Ross like that. But now I'm getting more independent and going places on my own and getting used to it. But yeah, I think I just think I've got this thing in my head where I think if you don't do it now, you'll never do it. So just go and do it. And if it's bad, then it's bad. Like, you just don't go and do it again. And that's what I thought walking out on my debut. I just thought, well, you're here now, so just walk out.
You can make the most out of that debut as well. It was such a good performance. As for the second fight, although you was very frustrated, ultimately, as long as you get the win, you can always work on those improvements as long as you're 2-0 and hopefully striving for more in the future. And in this interview, you've often mentioned your work. And while you are fully committed to professional boxing, you also work in the NHS as a pharmacist. How do you manage to find a balance of your workload and your training?
I feel like I've just gotten used to it now. Like, my manager at work, she's amazing. She lets me do shifts around boxing, and it does the same. So he lets our training work around my shifts at work. So I'm really fortunate in the sense that they both kind of like work around each other to make sure that I can do what I need to do. It's been stressful over the past few months, but I feel like I've got into a routine now, and I want to succeed in boxing more than anything. That, like, there's kind of like no excuse. Like, I just finish work and then I go training. So there's no like, oh, I don't want to go training, or oh, I don't want to do this, because it's kind of just like my normal day now.
In the past, would you maybe been a bit guilty of going, oh, I can't be bothered today with training, I've just done a shift? Or have you always been really motivated to be like, okay, this is what I want to do, this is why I'm doing it, if I put in the hard yards, I'll get the achievements and the plaudits that you deserve after that?
I think, like, in the beginning when I first turned professional, it was really, really, really hard, because I was training at I was getting up at like 5:30 in the morning or 5 o'clock, and then getting to training for 6, then doing a full day at work, and then going doing training after it. So it was really hard to like motivate myself to do that. But now, like, I feel like I'm in a position where like I'm being trained by Anne, and I'm just so grateful that he's actually just putting the time into me, that I don't feel like I should be like, oh, I don't want to go training, or oh, I don't want to do this, because I feel like, there's so many people that wish they were in my position, especially with being furloughed and things now. Like, I love my job at the hospital, and I'm so thankful that I've been able to work throughout lockdown. So I'm always kind of like very self-motivated. Like, I get my work done in work, and then my mind switches off from that, and then I go to training, and then I just want to, when I'm at training, I just want to get like fitter, faster, better. And I've got like such an amazing coach, and obviously I train with James. Like, anyone would kill to be in my shoes. So I just feel like, you should just be so grateful for the position that you're in.
I think that's a really wonderful answer. And I'm really impressed with how you're conducting yourself throughout this podcast so far. And I definitely agree with Lee Hogan too, because when I first met you, you was a lot more shyer. You was very quiet in many ways in some circumstances. But I can kind of see that your confidence is very radiant. You're obviously very bubbly, and you're very confident in your own ability now. And I think earlier in your career, I think you probably agree that you may have been short at confidence at times. Not in a case of you was nervous about your ability, but I don't think you quite fully realise your potential at the very start. You've always been a special boxer when I first watched you at Aspel Civic Hall. So it's nice to see that you've been able to find that mental strength and that mental place where you are like, I am confident, I am really good, and I do have a great chance of making it in the women's boxing game.
I know, like, me and my strength and conditioning coach, Tim, when he first met me, like, I just go and talk, like, for half an hour before our session, we'd just be talking through things that were going through my head. And he's really helped massively with, like, me doubting myself, and like the training sessions that he puts together. Like, he wants me to feel like I can't do anything more, so that when it comes to a fight, like, I'll never feel like what I did in that training session. He's like, the fight night is your like celebration, it's your party. Like, you go and it's the best thing. Like, you go and show everything what you've been doing. The training sessions that I do with him, that's where it's horrible. And like, that's where you get the fitness, and you go to them places where if you find yourself in it in a fight, you think, I've been here before, I've fought through this. Like, the stuff that we do with Tim, I'll never feel like that in a fight. Do you know what I mean? That
Yeah,
makes sense.
it's tough love, and it's almost like through having such intense training, such intense circuits and programs, that the fight won't actually feel as difficult as training in many ways, with how much preparation you're doing in advance.
The fight will feel like?
The fight will feel easier in terms of obviously going through such intense training. I imagine that it will be quite an easy process to have a fight in many ways, because you're fully prepared and you've obviously gone through hell to get to that point. You've worked hard to get there, and it probably make the fight day easier.
Definitely, and especially with like, you know, this whole like not being able to fight and stuff, like it just makes you more hungrier and wanting to, like you're just waiting to get that date so that you've got a date in mind, so you're working towards it. Whereas now I feel like I'm in camp but I haven't got a date, but I feel like I could have a date at any moment. Do you know what I mean? But I can't wait to actually get a date, because then it's kind of like I'll put my foot on the pedal until that date, and then I can just have my like party to show everyone how amazing I've gone in a year, and then have a Five Guys after it.
Is that your favourite food?
Oh yes, Five Guys. You know what? Me and Ross, when we go Five Guys, we'll get 2 burgers each, 2 double cheeseburgers.
Wow, Jesus!
I can eat.
And I imagine that would cost quite a lot as well, because it's quite expensive, Five Guys, in my opinion, for what it is.
Oh, do you not think it's worth it?
I think it's worth it, yeah, but I think it is quite steep for a burger. I think it's like £8 a burger.
Oh, see, because like now I've had a Five Guys, I'll never be able to go Mackey's again.
Yeah, I kind of felt like that for a while, because I don't think I actually enjoy McDonald's properly, because I think I eat McDonald's because it's convenient rather than anything else, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I remember when you were fighting earlier last year for your last fight, you was quite into the Lotus Biscoff spread.
Still into it.
And as well, was it the double chocolate Oreos, which were like covered? I remember them.
Still into them.
Still. I've tried it for the first time last week, actually. And I could kind
the
of
milk chocolate or the white chocolate ones?
I've tried both, but I quite like the milk chocolate ones.
Oh, you're a freak. The white chocolate ones are well better.
Well, we'll agree to disagree on that point. I think we're definitely going through a tangent here, like podcasts always do. And in terms of, you mentioned working for the NHS and the great work you've done for the NHS over the last year or so. With the coronavirus pandemic, it's been very difficult for a lot of people. And you've obviously been working on the front line to help people and help those who are sadly suffering. How did you personally cope mentally with that period?
So in the first lockdown, we were just trying to learn as much as we could about the virus, because there wasn't a lot of, studies around from the UK at that time. So we were kind of just learning from other countries and what they did in terms of like treatment and stuff like that. So you were kind of like preoccupied with that. Obviously, we were looking after the patients, but it was more like you were learning about new therapy and new ways of working. Whereas now, obviously, it's the cases have gone ridiculously high and the deaths have gone ridiculously high. And we shut down a majority of our wards again to turn them into COVID wards. So, they are really busy wards, but if you kind of like dwell on every single thing, you won't get any of your work done. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got so many people to see. You kind of just have to put it to the back of your mind that, like, you saw someone to like yesterday and then they were fine and now they're dying today. You kind of can't sit and dwell on it because you've got so much work to do. And obviously I'm on the go all the time, so I never really just sit down and think about it. But then when I was talking to Ross about it the other day, I was like, we were sat talking about it because obviously his way of working has changed because he's a social worker. And it's just so sad, the things that are going on. Like, people are losing family members, and it's like whole families are coming in and they're all on the ward together, all really unwell, and some of them are dying and some aren't. So, you just have to kind of be like grateful that you're safe and your family's safe. And I've not seen my nephew since Christmas, when we were allowed to. And he's grown up so much. Like, he looks like a little boy now. It's ridiculous. But I wouldn't want to go to see him in case I would never forgive myself if I gave any of my family members that virus. So, just got to kind of stick to government guidance, stay safe. I've had my vaccine and I'm due to get my second one in a few weeks. So hopefully things are going to get back to a bit of normality soon and I can go and hug my nephew because I've been dying to do it for ages. But until then, we just kind of got to stick to what we're doing.
It's sort of setting, and I really applaud your work for the NHS. It's absolutely inspirational and very selfless of everyone who works for the NHS. And do you think the period of working throughout the coronavirus pandemic has helped you grow in confidence and gain a little bit more mental strength, having seen some of the awful things that have happened over the last year?
Yeah, definitely. Gaining, like, working through a pandemic, it's just completely a different way of working. We've changed the way we work like crazy amount of times, and staff going off sick, so we've had staff shortages and having to cover multiple wards. You just kind of have to get your head down, and I know that work will never be like that again, so I've got confidence in myself that way. And we've even got the army in now helping out, so that's been crazy. But yeah, it's given me a lot of confidence working through the pandemic. Yeah.
In one of your previous answers, you mentioned how you did a lot of work with your confidence and self-doubt with your strength and conditioning coach. Would it be fair to say that you did have quite a couple of mental health issues relating to self-doubt? Because I know it's something a lot of sports people do experience.
Yeah, I think it's more like, especially coming from the way I've come from, it's kind of like I've not come from the traditional route where everyone's gone through the amateurs and done that, got all that experience, because I was never introduced to that. Like, if I could turn back time and start boxing when I was 8 and do that, I would. But I probably would have given it up because I wouldn't have stuck to anything when I was younger. But I would have loved to have gone through that amateur route and learned through that way, because going through the white collar unlicensed route, you've not gone through it, you've not got all that experience that you have as an amateur. So I felt like I was going to have a lot of self-doubt. But obviously, since being with Anne and Tim, they do so much to kind of like help me mentally. And obviously, Anthony Crolla saying that I'm doing these amazing things, it can't do anything but help your confidence. But I've seen it, I've my brother and brother-in-law are rugby players, and I think it is mental health in sports is a massive thing.
It's a great answer. And your brother-in-law is Joe Miller, and I believe he used to play for Toronto Wolfpack, and I imagine he's had quite a difficult few months with what's happened there.
Exactly, like I don't think they got paid for 6 months. So going from getting your normal salary to nothing, it's been massively hard on him and his family. He's fortunate that he has moved to Lee now, and he's back training, and obviously they've gone from training to doing nothing, so that's going to play a massive role. But Joe's a really strong person. He's a lot stronger than me. I'd be crying all the time, but Joe's he started doing his garden, so I think that preoccupied his time. We've got such an amazing family, and he's got such an amazing family that supported him through that time. But if Joe wasn't such a strong person, things could have ended a lot differently.
Absolutely. And you've got a very supportive family and friends around you. And one person who we've not mentioned a lot in this interview, and I'm sure his ears will be perking up at this point. He loves it when his name's mentioned, James Moorcroft. How do you know James? What's it like to work alongside him with Anthony Crolla?
So I know James. We started out boxing together, really. We were at our old gym, and then we moved to our gym together. And it's like, so James and Ross are best friends, and James's fiance is called Hannah, and we're like 4 best friends that hang around together, and our dogs are best friends. Ronnie and Honey are best friends. And obviously they've had the little baby, Mia. And when she meets me officially, I think me and her will be best friends. So yeah, we moved to Ant together, and James is 100% all the time. So he's a very, very happy-go-lucky guy. So you can't help but be happy when you're around him because he's got such like a good positive energy. And he's a very, very, very funny guy and very funny to train with, James. I think he's in love with Anne. He compliments him way, way, way too much. There's so much to compliment another person. But he's good to train with, James. He's a massive confidence boost. He's my best friend, and he works so hard. He's come to Tim with me now, so we literally spend like every day together now. So we do boxing together and strength and conditioning together. So I can't seem to get rid of him.
It's amazing to hear that James and Hannah have given birth to their beautiful baby daughter Mia. And do you think with James becoming a dad, it can really help him in his career in many ways because he now has another extra reason to do well and succeed?
Oh, 100%. Like, if you've spoken to him after having Mia, he's just like a completely different person. Like, he was driven anyway, but he's got like a completely different drive now. And obviously, you've met Hannah, and she is so supportive of James' his career, and she was amazing. I've heard through childbirth, like, she's literally a warrior. He's just, since we've been with Anne, he's just a completely different person. And obviously now with the baby, he's what's it called? What was I gonna say?
You say he's matured a little bit in a way.
Yeah, but he'll always still be the way, James is James.
He always reminds me of, in many ways, and it's endearing, a bit of a Peter Pan in many ways. He always likes to stay young. That sounds a bit weird, but he always wants to have that kind of like youthful, playful energy, and I think that's his personality.
He's very, very much got a very like young mentality. Him and Ross together, they're like when I used to go and climb mountains with them, I just want to ditch them because they'd be like at each other's necks all the time. They're literally like brothers. So annoying.
I remember watching some videos of you climbing the mountains, and didn't they used to have rap battles and singing raps together?
Yes, they would have rap battles and they would argue about which way we were going. They have this app on the phone called All Trails. So I'd follow James because they take it in turns on who was going to show us the route, like every mountain that we did. And Ross would secretly go on All Trails to be like, James, you're going the wrong way. But so they're just annoying.
Was it almost like looking after two kids when you went to the mountain climbing?
Yeah, definitely. Like, but it's, I can't wait till we can do it again. And I think James is trying to get Alex to come as well. So hopefully that'll be fun. And we took Steve up, or man of Coniston.
I can't even imagine that, but I imagine it'd be quite enjoyable. Steve Wood is a great character.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's funny.
He's someone I've met a couple of times through VIP boxing promotions, and he works so hard. And I think he's an unsung hero, in my opinion, for what he does for his fighters and his shows. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves, in my opinion. And in terms of yourself now, I'm going to wrap up this podcast because it's been incredible to catch up, and I think the viewers will be very impressed with how you conduct yourselves. And obviously, if you want to learn more about Rhiannon Dixon and her fights, you can follow her on Twitter at Rhiannon Dixon 3. She's also got Instagram, which I'll put in the link in the description, and the Facebook page. So, Rhiannon, what are your aims over the next 12 months?
So, I'd probably just want to be able to fight. They've got the shows on behind closed doors, and everyone's trying to get on them. But so everyone's trying to fight to get on the same show, so there's limited opportunities for anyone. But I'm just staying around fight weight and making sure that I'm ready, so that if any opportunity came, then I would just be able to take it on short notice. I can't really look much past that now because I don't know when that fight is going to come and if I'm going to get an opportunity. So I'm just trying to focus on the next fight at hand.
Absolutely, and that's the best way to do it. And in terms of this podcast, it's been great to hear your story and catch up, which I mentioned previously. So is there anything you want to add before the podcast ends?
Oh, I just want to say thank you so much to all my sponsors, Box Fit Food Prep, Go Hard Gym Wear, Elite Performance Sports Massage, Fight Store UK, and Applied Nutrition. They are amazing. They've supported me throughout this lockdown. They've been unbelievable. Always, like, they're such kind-hearted people, and supported me so much, and I can't thank them enough. Also, the people that support me and watch my videos, like them, follow me, like, you know, you're helping me reach my dream. And if I could hug you all, I would, but COVID, I can't. So yeah, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who supports me and follows me.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Full-Time Whittle Podcast, please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching. It's always appreciated.